I am a huge fan of the NES, from way back in the day when I was a kid. Back then, the NES was kind of the only system around. The Atari existed and Sega did have their Master System, but most kids out there had an NES. It was the most popular console, and, kind of had the best games. On today's episode, I'm going to be walking you through my top 5 NES games. First game on the list, at number 5, Seicross. Seicross originally came out in 1984 in the arcades back in Japan. Then it was known as Sector Zone. Not long after, they released it for home consoles on the Famicom and on the NES. At that point, they changed the name to Seicross, and I don't really know why they did that. This was one of my favorite games to play when I was a kid. I don't know, it's just fun. It's one of those games that focuses a lot on score because of its arcade roots. And you also have the ability to knock the other racers off into the side or into objects, which is really satisfying. Now, I don't really play it for score, I just play it to see how far I can get. It's difficult, but fun. See, unlike other games that existed around the time, your energy bar at the top would have been your health, so every time you got hit, you lose a little bit of energy. But in this game, this is actually your fuel. If your energy gets too low and eventually depletes, your vehicle blows up. This is a very, very strange game. Apparently there's some kind of plot to it, I really don't know. One of the things that kind of sucks about this game, almost everything wants to shoot at you. I could never really make it out when I was a kid, but I always thought that the sides of this game, like at the very top there, didn't look like cliffs, but looked a lot like potatoes. I could never really get far in this game, even to this day, but it's still a very fun game to play and I recommend it heavily. At number 4, RC ProAm. RC ProAm might not be the best racing game on the NES, but it is some of the best racing gameplay. Each level progressed in difficulty and seemed to challenge the player more and more. Unlike other racing games that existed around the same time on the NES, this one offered a lower map so that you could see every turn and prepare yourself for what was ahead. The game was filled with power-ups, turbo boosts, and on-track obstacles like puddles and pop-up walls. A cool feature of the game is collecting vehicle parts off the track to increase the performance of your vehicle. But the best things to collect on the track were weapons. Rockets and bombs stopped your opponents for a short amount of time, giving you that extra second to cross the finish line before they did. Seriously, one of the best racing games ever. In at number 3, Galaga. Galaga was and still is one of my all-time favorite video games ever made. The gameplay is simple. Shoot all the aliens above you and advance to the next stage. And each level offers you more complex and difficult aliens that have better attacks as you progress. It's a pretty basic game, but that's what's so cool about it. One of the best secrets ever in this game is having one of the aliens capture your spaceship. Only to destroy that alien later and reclaim your captured ship to have double the firepower. It's a classic game, through and through, and still worth a play. At number 2, Micro Machines. Micro Machines was a popular toy brand that my friends and I used to play with when we were kids. This is, in my opinion, the best racing game ever made on the NES. No other game offered the same great selection of vehicles and tracks that Micro Machines did. Each level was designed the same way my friends and I would create race tracks with our real Micro Machines toys. The stages are made with nuts and bolts, Cheerios, glue, milk, and all sorts of objects that kids would find in their garages and kitchens. The gameplay was pretty crazy too, considering you never quite knew how close you were to the edge of a table due to its top-down perspective. You could knock friends off the track, or get ahead of them completely by memorizing the tracks and mastering every turn. This game was seriously a blast to play. And at number 1, Jackal. This is it, my favorite NES game ever made. Maybe it's the vehicles and having the ability to go anywhere you want, or maybe it's because you can upgrade your grenades to rockets. It's just awesome. It has the most addicting gameplay. So much to do and so much to see, and you know what? While I was sitting down to actually record this game, I ended up playing and beating the entire thing again for old time's sake. Each level feels very different. Different colors and textures and different enemies and shapes and designs. It's just a blast to explore every stage because it's so unique from the last one. There are interesting bosses and great traps that seem to get me every time, even if I know they're there. This is some of the most fun you can have playing an NES, and it's even better if you play with a friend. Find this game and play it. It's worth buying an NES alone for.